everyone. Welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star, and with me today I have Crystal. Her last name is pronounced Mouse, just like a rodent. I love her last name because I love nice. But this is Crystal Mouse. Say hi.
A good German name. It's my husband. I said it's a German name, and it's my husband's. I know some people on a List Perfectly called the other day were trying to guess, and the only guy that guessed it right was in Eastern Europe. So he knew.
Funny. I met Crystal at List Perfectly's event last year at camp, and I think I said to you, "Is it like the rodent?" And you said, "Yeah, just like the mouse."
Yeah.
I think Don was there, and he's like, "I would ask her if it was like Mickey," and I'm like, "No, I like rodents." I refer everything back to them. So I did meet Crystal in person at camp, and she's got a lot of really interesting things about her business that I get to hear about from her and listing parties. And so I asked her to come on the channel because I really want you guys to hear this too. She's volume based. And when I call myself a volume based business, I'm small to her, right? So I really wanted to bring her on here and pick her brain, ask her some questions, just so you guys can hear what she has to say if you have any aspirations to grow. Now, I want to preface this with saying something that I always say all the time on this channel. What works for me or what works for Crystal may not work for you. So the volume-based business that Keith and I have built is perfect for us, because if I had to have employees, I would be on Dateline.
I love Dateline.
I don't work well with others. I'm implying that I would kill somebody. And you know, there's folks out there who do this part-time. There's folks that do this as a hobby. There's single moms who do this just to take their kids to Disneyland. Your bills are not my bills. They're not Crystal's bills, and everybody's business model is going to look different, and everyone's aspirations are different. Some people want 15 employees. Some people just want VAs. So keep that in mind. Everybody's business model is going to look different, and you have to do what you need to do at the end of the day, or what you want to do. Like, I have friends that could be doing more, but they're minimalistic. They just want a small house and to travel, and they make enough money for that. I have friends who have 10 cars. I have people who need money for Stephen King first edition signed hardbacks back there. So we all have money, need for our money and ways to get it. So I just want to preface that before we get into this, because I know somebody's going to come at me later in the comments and be like, "Well, never." Keep it to yourself. If it isn't for you, just take something away from it that you can't. You can learn something from everyone. I learn stuff from people who sell differently from me all the time. You don't have to aspire to be exactly like us, but you can learn something from Crystal's organizational skills, and her inventory management is chef's kiss. It soothes my OCD.
Mine too, friend.
So look at the background. Look at those nice.
They all have numbers.
So nice. And also, Crystal's in Fargo, so she reminds me of the movie.
My accent will give me away.
Oh, gosh. We were talking about that before we came on.
Don't you know?
You betcha.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right on in, Crystal, and tell us how you got started in reselling.
Well, for my whole life, as long as I can remember, have loved fashion. So that's the first part of it. Even as a kid, I was in 4-H and I took sewing in 4-H. Okay. So I had the brilliant idea to make a dress out of a hanky material. And my sewing teacher just didn't even know really what to think about it. She's very traditional. She thought I should make a little pinafore dress or something. And I had other ideas and I remember my mom laughing about that. But as long as I can remember, I've loved clothes. So that's just been since I was a little girl. But reselling really came about in a couple of ways. I have been my whole adult life a thrifter. I love garage sales. I love thrifting. I love shopping. The treasure hunt. I think that's why a lot of us get into reselling, is because of that. I know you're not a shopper.
I hate thrifting.
Trish, one of our friends who is involved in List Perfectly. She's not a shopper either. She would say, I'd rather just buy blind and
Yep.
you know,
Boxes delivered to the door.
exactly. Yep. So that's like what you went to say before. Everybody does this differently.
Mhm.
And the reasons we do it are different. But for me, I loved shopping. I loved thrifting. And I would see things in stores when I'm looking for things for myself. And I think, I know this thing here is worth $100. I can't believe somebody would donate this. And so that's kind of where the seeds were planted. But then where it really began was when I volunteered at a thrift store. It was a free store for people who were homeless, were maybe getting back into apartments for the first time after being down on their luck and out. And in a climate where I live, it's very harsh here. And so it's important to help the people that are living maybe outside in the elements, to have clothes that are appropriate, bedding, things that they need. So anyway, there's a need for it here, and we have a store like this so people can come and get things that they need. So I volunteered at this store, and when I would see the donations that would come in, people were so generous with what they gave. But one of the things was a Burberry coat.
Oh my gosh.
One of the, you know, the designer things like a pair of Dior shoes, high heels. Well, our clients, the clientele we had, didn't have a need for those things, but we needed more of like winter coats, men's jeans, socks, new underwear, things along those lines. And so as I was flipping through the racks, helping clients shop, I said, you know, to the ladies that worked there, I said, you know, do you think this organization would be better served if we could take these valuable items that people are donating, and I could figure out a way to sell them for you and then just give you all the money for what they sell for, and then you can buy the things that the clients need in the store. Yeah, let's give it a try. So one of my first flips was that Burberry coat, and it was a shorter one, you know, it wasn't the classic trench coat or anything like that, but I think it was $500 or something, $600. I couldn't believe it. I mean, from that moment, I was completely hooked on the idea that I could shop or treasure hunt and do that. So I did that for a charitable organization for a while, just their stuff. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth on reselling. Like, I figured out how to use Poshmark. That was the first platform that I resold on for them. And then, you know, I love consuming YouTube content. So I hopped on YouTube, and I all of a sudden would see all these people that did this for an actual job, and I just could not believe it. So then from there, I took a couple $100s of my own money, went and bought some things to see what I could do with it. And now I'm here after 4 years, but that's how I got started, and why, really, because I had a thrifting habit. And I had to, you know, stay married, have a home that wasn't full of stuff. So, you know, I had to sell it.
Did you have a job outside of the home before you were?
I did. So I went to college for advertising and marketing. I worked in an advertising agency setting for the 5 or 6 years after I got out of college. And I was my husband and I got married fairly young, and we had a set of twins when I was 24. And so after you pay for a nanny for 2 years for these babies, and they, you know, had a lot of needs at the time, I added up my paycheck. I added up the bills that we paid the nanny to look after the babies, and I really wasn't making anything. So then I made the decision, we did, for me to stay home. So I stayed home for 12 or 14 years, something, you know, in there. And this was the perfect segue for me to get back into doing something that contributed back to my household, because I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. I had some side hustles while I was staying at home. But for the most part, I was a full-time parent. So that's what I was doing. And then my youngest went to school, and my husband would go to work every day, and I'd be, well, once the house is clean, what else is there to do? So, and I'm not one to sit, you know, Rolling Stones gather no moss is what they say. And I am a Rolling Stone. I don't sit still too much. So I wanted something to do. And since I loved thrifting, it kind of all fell together at the same time. That store that I was volunteering at, my children getting older, and it just was this perfect timing thing. So that's how I got into it.
And the background in advertising and marketing probably helps you a lot, right?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I feel like I'm sort of rusty on a lot of those skills since I haven't really done them in a long time. But I think because I did that for a number of years, that's what I went to school for. That's how my brain just works on default, sort of, is thinking from that angle. So it probably does help. What I need to do, though, is get on socials. I'm not a social media gal, and that is all advertising and marketing, right?
Yeah.
But I just,
so you guys will notice there's no links for Crystal in the descriptions because when I went to stalk her, I already followed you on Instagram. I must have followed you at camp, but there's no posts on your Instagram, nothing.
I'm just over here making money, okay? I don't have time for any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I right now kind of on a small sabbatical from YouTube. My season finale for live shows was actually 2 weeks ago, but this was the only Friday you were available. So I made an exception for you. That's okay.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm not coming back after you until September. There's a Friday the 13th.
Okay.
And I'm doing less videos because we're trying to grow. And even with two of us, when you're in growth mode, you have to prioritize.
I was going to ask you, is it because you're like taking your business to the next level? Is that why you're breaking?
I wouldn't say to the next level, because for us, that would probably be getting an employee.
Oh, and you don't want to be on Dateline?
No, I don't just want to deal with people. I actually had this entire conversation. I have a local eBay meetup group. We meet once a month to eat and once a month to thrift. I actually go to the house thrifting once a month. But at dinner the other night, we were talking about that. And they all have VAs and employees. And I'm like, no. Keith and I made an agreement in 2017. We will grow until we cannot handle it ourselves.
And then we're at our max.
And we're at our max. And if we have to step back, we can even step back.
But so the next level for you is like what more you and Keith can handle, though. So you said you're growing, though. You're going to focus on.
So we had it basically for a long time where he was basically the full-time reseller. I was a part-time reseller and a part-time content creator.
Yeah.
And we actually had 4,000 active listings before we moved to Florida 3 years ago. We dropped down to 1,500 to move and then just kind of stayed there for a long time. And so we've been back here for about a year and a half. We're at 3,800 now. And
you're in the Northeast now, right? It was like a up
Pittsburgh.
And down the coastline move?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So for us, we wanted to double our listings, I think. So I can't do that. I have to be a full-time reseller with him to do that.
Yeah, you only have so many hours in the day.
I'm just prioritizing. I prefer, honestly, everybody listening, I love you guys. I love your support. I love to teach. I love making videos. But in my heart, I'm a reseller. That's what I like to do. I've always said I'm a reseller who sometimes makes content and teaches people how to do what I do. But I'm not a content creator. At the end of the day,
value in that, though. I mean, people who maybe start reselling and go to full-time content creating about reselling, I mean, there's a difference in the tone of the content and sometimes the usefulness of it too. So for you
I agree.
A reseller is really a good thing for your people.
I'm a reseller who sometimes makes content. Content creator. But at the end of the day, honestly, I don't like to look like this. I want my hair in the troll bun, no makeup, and pajamas with no bra. And I just want to pull up boxes up here from the garage and just sit and I take like all the pictures, and Keith does all of our listing except for jewelry. He doesn't want to do that. So I have to list that. But I'm perfectly content to just look homeless and ugly and watch Dateline all day and just take hundreds of pictures. And
that's really my natural habitat too, to be honest.
Yeah. I like making videos, but it's not. When I wake up in the morning, I'm excited because today's the day I get to break into my Plush or into my jeans box, or I get to take pictures of this or do that.
Yeah.
I get excited about live shows because I have guests, but it's still kind of like, oh man, I got to stop taking pictures and put makeup on.
Yeah, ever since COVID, I don't put make. I'm sorry, someone's knocking at my door. It's the mailman.
Didn't they just call you before we came on?
Yes, I'm not going to answer. They can go.
Okay. So back to you. How many active listings do you have? Tell the people.
So I'm closing in on 10,000. Yes. I moved into this building a year ago, and we'll get to the building and all that hopefully later.
Mhm.
But when I moved in, I had about 5,000. And I said, by next year at this time, I want to have double this. And so this is the summer of the race to 10,000 listings. And I hope I can do it. But sales have been good. So it's hard, you know, I mean, when you're selling so much, which is a great problem,
Yeah.
to try to build up your active listings is
Well,
harder.
the more you list, the more you sell, the more you list, the more you sell. And that's
Exactly.
where we hit, that's where we head, but when we're in growth mode and why I have to back off a lot of YouTube.
Yep.
Because you're listing more, you're growing, then you start selling more, and then you start just spinning your wheels in the mud, and you're just kind of staying stagnant at like maintaining mode instead of growth mode.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And
You get that.
Oh, for sure. And like I said, you're one person, or in your case, two people. You each have 24 hours in a day. And when you sell more, like you have more shipping then. I mean, shipping takes longer, and everything just takes a little longer. Even if you sell 2 or 3 more items a day, it just adds on to the amount of time you spend on actual reselling.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a real thing. I do have people that help me. I have employees. I have one person that's here every day Monday through Thursday. She comes in person, and then 2 people that are VAs that are remote. But I remember when I got to that point, like I thought, well, I want to keep growing this business, but you know, I'm going to do it as long as I can on good advice from actually, you know, other resellers. Do it as long as you can, do as much as you can until you can't possibly do any more. And then that's when you hire. It's people ask frequently, you know, we're both list perfectly people and go into listing parties, and people ask me frequently in there, when did you know that it was time? Well, when I felt like I was drowning, that was when it was time.
When you feel so stressed out that you don't, what am I trying to say? So I have this huge thing about work-life balance. So the minute I start to feel like I'm working so much that I don't have time to enjoy my life, I have to back down. I'm a huge balance person.
Yeah.
I read on my lunch break, and I don't feel guilty if I want to finish a chapter and I take a little bit longer.
You're your own boss. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Yep. So the person that comes in person, what does she do?
So she is mainly a photographer. Like she mainly takes the pictures. I know you have an audience that's diverse and uses many different things to run their businesses, I imagine. I use List Perfectly. I love it. And everything goes straight into that catalog, and I use it for an inventory system. And so she takes the pictures right into that on a phone. I have a work phone that stays at the office. She takes everything on a phone, and that speeds the process up. I know some people like to use like a DSLR camera or something. But for me, it's a phone, an iPhone, updated one that takes nice, crisp pictures, and I've never had a problem. So she comes in and she spends right now, about 20 hours a week photographing things. That involves weighing them, measuring and everything, and then putting stuff into inventory some of the time. But mostly I keep her busy doing pictures, and I would like to have her come for more hours. There's just a fine balance with when you're running a business, especially I noticed when it's not in my home anymore. When you talk about we all have different bills, honey, I have bills, a lot of bills to run, the business the way it is set up. And so it's sort of a dance. I did have her working closer to 30 hours a week at one time, and now it's back down to about 20. But that's what she does pretty much the whole time she's here.
It's definitely something else that comes with having employees, which is, for me personally, one of the reasons why I don't want employees. We're both sole props. I don't want an LLC. I don't want workers' comp. I don't know if you watched Kat on Liz Perfectly's live show last week.
Yes,
she
I
was
love
talking.
her show.
I don't want that stress of my employee makes this much a week, whether I
Yeah.
do or not.
Right.
Whether I make less or more, you have to pay your. I don't want that. When I make a little bit less, I want to go, okay, well then I don't go out to eat this week. When I make a little bit more, I want to go, okay, well I put it in my savings or I buy another CD. Like sounds very selfish, but you can be selfish in this job if you want.
Kat put it perfectly last week. I was listening to everything she was saying and I was like, yep.
Yeah.
Like,
and you have to decide. I mean, whether that's for you or not. There's like I feel like there's a certain kind of personality and work ethic you need to work for yourself and have your own business. But even within that, we all have different personalities. And personally, I don't want the headache of employees, workers' comp, insurance, paychecks. Blah.
Some days I don't want the headache either, but here I am. But I get it. Like it is not for everybody. And
no, I don't want that. I mean, and I have like a pet hamster because I don't want the headache of a dog. I don't want the vet bills. I don't want. I'm an empty nester. My kids are grown, so I don't want anything where I feel like I'm starting over and taking care. So I have something in a cage. I like rodents, but I like hamsters because they're in a cage. They have to live alone because they fight to the death. So I only can have one at a time.
Oh dear.
To worry about. They're the only rodents that don't live in a herd or a pack.
Well, there you go. It's perfect.
Yeah,
solitary.
And she's cute, but she doesn't need a lot.
She doesn't require a lot of bandwidth from you, right? Like she's there.
So I'm like that way about pets, and I'm like that way about my business. And a lot of it's probably because I am an empty nester, and I had my kids very young, so I'm living now. Yes,
for sure. And, there were aspects of when I was on my own doing things without any help that I loved and I miss sometimes. I love my employee. She's awesome and I wouldn't give her up. I hope she never leaves me. But when I was doing this on my own, there were certain parts of it that were just so peaceful and so really empowering. I could do whatever, whenever I wanted. And I am a disciplined person. I have a lot of self-discipline, so I would still get work done, but like things are a lot more flexible then. When you have somebody coming, there's a certain amount of pressure to like have work lined up for them, have enough, for them to do for the number of hours that you've promised them. And then, like you'd added different expenses that come along with having help, workers' comp. And then when you pay someone, you have to match their Social Security and all the things they contribute a certain amount and you have to contribute that same amount.
And then I feel like it would almost be like, okay, when I used to work for someone else, if I have migraines and a lot of health issues, when I had to call out of work, I always felt some type of way, like I'm an adult, but I have to answer to somebody else. I don't like this. Where I'm at now, if I have a migraine, I'm not working. I'll make it up tomorrow, right? If I had an employee and I have to tell her there's no work for you today because I can't get to the warehouse because I have a migraine, then I'm going to feel I'm her boss, but it's still going to make me feel the same type of way I felt when I used to have to call as an adult. And to be fair to me, I have a lot of health issues. I don't talk about them on the channel a lot. And then I have my disability too. I'm not a reliable person. Like that's
like we all have to know ourselves. Like what,
there's weeks where there's 2 days where I'm off because of my back or my headache. Then I just work Saturday and I make it up because I can. But I don't know that my health allows me to be a reliable employer.
For sure. Yeah, I get that. Totally.
And then I don't have to leave the house.
One time and tell the girls not to come because I had 2 people coming in at that time. And the construction people back here cut the internet line when they were driving across it. And we had no internet. So for an e-commerce business, we have no E that day. So I'd just say, sorry, like I have nothing for you to do. And I felt terrible. So I get where you're coming from on that. You do then bear the sense of responsibility.
But everyone's different. I mean, everyone's different. Yeah. Like there are people out there who cannot stand selling jeans and it is my favorite.
It's so real. And it is like one of those things that comes with some stuff, but then it's allowed me to get to the level I'm at too. I never could have done this without help. And that's the other, the flip side of the coin.
I think where your 10,000 is probably our goal eventually, but there's 2 of us to be fair. So
Right.
without employees, with Keith and I
You can do
together,
it.
I
Yeah.
think we could do the 10. And I don't think we
You
would
can.
need a building. I think we talked about this in a listing party, but
Yes.
the way our house is built here, the entire first floor, it's not a basement, it's not subterranean, it's the first floor of the house. The front half is the garage, the back half is the laundry room. And then the second floor, you go upstairs to a second floor, is where the living room, kitchen, dining room, it's weird.
Oh, okay.
Third floor up here is the offices, the bathroom, and bedrooms. So I have like basically the entire square footage first floor of my house
That's awesome.
for inventory.
Yeah.
And now that we're getting a lot into jewelry and comics, to take up a lot less room as well, so you can really grow that very quickly.
You could get to 30,000 in your house probably if you're selling jewelry and comics.
Yeah. And with two people, I think 10,000 is feasible with two people. So
I do too. Yeah.
I think that's our end game goal. But I don't know. I'm thinking by September 13th, if I'm going to come back to pushing harder on the content side of things, I'll probably only be at 6,000 or 7,000 by then. We're at 3,800 right now. So I don't know. How many do you list a day?
Especially with two. I started April 1st doing 50 a day.
Okay. So we're still doing like 20.
Yeah. And once you start, I feel like once I started listing 50, because I had been doing 40 for a long time. Then I cut back to 35 for a while for a few different reasons. And then I thought, you know what, if I want to get to 10,000 this summer, like I said I was going to, and I'd like to make a little more too, because I don't want things to be tight with the budget. I need to list more. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do 50 a day for the month of April and see how it goes. Well, it's been going just fine. So I'm going to continue to do that. And I have noticed after about 3 weeks or a month of doing that, I've noticed a big uptick in sales too. You know, it takes a while after you make a change like that, I feel like, to notice or enjoy the fruits of your labor. And so if people are looking to grow, I would encourage, whoever that is, to just be patient with it, give something, when you make a change, give it a chance and let it ride for a little bit.
And wherever you're at, you can just double what you're doing. So if you're doing 5 a day now, you can do 10
or 2 or whatever,
Yeah. We're at 20, but we're like 2 weeks ahead at all times on eBay. So he schedules 20 a day, but he's working 2 weeks ahead.
In case something happens, you never know.
Girl, let me tell you why we started doing that, because shit kept happening.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it was so frustrating last year. Our car broke down, and his grandfather got sick. And I felt like every single week for like a 6-month period, we couldn't work a full week. Something was always happening. And we were like, how do we avoid this? And he's like, well, you're always taking pictures. I have this huge bank in our catalog. So we just sat down one week and like doubled the amount we had to list for that day, and then a week ahead.
Yeah. And kind of try to squirrel them away.
Yeah. Now we're like 2 weeks ahead. So when he sits down Monday morning to list, he'll be doing 20 for the 3rd, I think, of like June. And then he'll do the 4th. So he's not just doing 20 a day. When I say we do 20 a day, he's actually doing like 80 a day, but he's doing 4 days worth or 5 days worth. So he's doing 100 some days.
Yeah. And then it allows you more flexibility. I mean, I have 3 teenage sons and 2 pets and a husband. And I'm telling you, like, we haven't had a normal week in 6 months or more. I mean, a week where 5 days I can just come to the office and work nonstop from 8 to 5. That doesn't exist.
I'm laughing because I was just complaining. Over our lunch break today, we had to run a couple errands and go to the post office. And when we came home, there's a rainbow in our driveway. There's an oil leak in our car now.
See,
so
I mean,
he's out checking the oil. He calls the grandfather to bring him oil, to put oil in the car, to take it over there. His grandfather's a mechanic. He put it on the lift. I stayed here because of my show.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we ever
just have a normal day? Please.
Just have a week. And Keith's like, no, once in a while you can have a day where you can come in here and work.
But never a week.
We both have suffered from migraines, and one of our triggers is rain. And all it does here is rain.
Oh, well, that's been tough.
April and May, it rains more than it does in Seattle. It's like a proven fact. My migraine doctor told me that. I'm not just making that up. So we have medication and we try to deal with it, but there's that. his grandfather's health isn't too great right now. There's just a lot of stuff we're dealing with, and it's like so frustrating. So you guys, that's my advice to you. You need a bank. First of all, if you can have a bank of just stuff you've already taken pictures of, and a bank of stuff you've already built that's just sitting there or scheduled out.
So I have both. I do.
We do too.
Yeah, I have probably 2 weeks to sometimes 3, depending on how efficient the picture taking process has been that week or how much help I have. But sometimes 2 to 3 weeks ahead of either I have like a draft tab in my List Perfectly. Those are all things that have been photographed. Then I have an unlisted tab. Those are things that have been photographed, descriptions written, priced, and they're ready to rock. And so always there is a good cushion in there because you never know. And I think in everybody's life, there's things. There's the car, there's a kid's ball game, there's unfortunately deaths that happen, or something fun, a vacation.
Yeah.
I was able to go on vacation for a long stretch. That's 5 days for me. That's
a long time to me.
I'm not talking like a 3-week European tour or anything like that, but my family and I went away for what I consider a long stretch. And I didn't have to close my business down. I didn't have to put things on vacation mode.
Yeah.
Because I had the systems in place to continue. For me, I don't use the scheduling feature in eBay. I have the VA that works for me do that on a daily basis. And I've given her the ability to use the scheduling feature if that's easier for her, but she just chooses to list every day.
Yeah. We like the scheduling feature because he puts one every half hour.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool. Yeah.
So, or an hour. Sometimes he'll go from like 7 a.m. till 2 a.m. on a day for the 20. But yeah, when I say 20 a day, let me say that again because people are like, you guys only do 20 a day. No, he's doing 80 to 100 a day, but he's putting 20 each day. Yep. And then he's got a cross post. And then if he gets far enough ahead, he'll just sit in our catalog and just build listings and just let them sit. So tomorrow he can just start pushing out.
If you know you've got something coming up the next day, it's nice to have that flexibility built in. You got your work done. And yeah,
I really like the scheduling though. Dawn actually gave me that idea in the listing party because you can have something coming live like once an hour. So you're staying active around the clock rather than just dumping 20 in the morning.
Yeah. Yep. And that, I think, especially eBay likes that kind of attention. They like you to be busy in there a lot.
Oh, you got to feed the beast.
Yes, you do.
So we need to talk about what kind of things you sell.
Okay. Gosh, we get off on tangents, huh?
Yeah, I tend to do that. I forget I'm an interviewer and just start having a conversation.
Well, that's what makes it fun. So you want to know what I sell, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I wish I could carry my computer around and show you all the shoe racks. I heard you say you don't do shoes. Was it you?
Yeah, because
they gross you out. I love selling shoes. Shoes are.
Oh my God, shoes.
In my opinion, shoes are a high profit margin category, especially within clothing. I don't particularly like processing them, but I like the money that is in shoes. And so if you're looking, so I'm a clothing, shoes, and accessory seller mainly. I have a few housewares, artwork, some things that I just pick up along the way that I can't resist. But those, I get something in like that and it messes up my process. We have our processes down so tight and in such a way that if you throw in, I bought a fortune cookie maker the other day. I couldn't not buy it. There was a good sell through on it. It was a good deal. I thought it's a giant fortune cookie maker. I'm going to buy this and we're going to sell it. Well, guess what? That and the meat slicer I bought that day sat in a box on the floor for, a while before we got to them because it doesn't fit into the process.
I get that. Yeah. If it's not jeans, plush, or jewelry, it's not part of my system.
Exactly.
So it goes in the I call them I don't wanna piles.
Exactly. Yeah. And I always have one. I don't know why I continue to buy that stuff because truthfully, they don't ever really fly off the shelf anyway. when I buy those things, I'm really careful about looking at sell-through rate and things because I don't know a lot about those categories. But I prefer to stick to clothes, shoes, handbags, things that I love and I know a lot about. I feel like over the last few years, I've built up a good mental catalog of just knowledge. And so I fare better when I just stick to what I know. And there's so much of it. Of clothing, good grief.
Oh my gosh.
It's
They're still filling landfills everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you still go thrifting like on a schedule or do you order a lot of wholesale?
So this has changed recently. It's changed since I moved to the warehouse from my home. I used to be a thrift only reseller. And so I would set aside maybe 2 days a week to thrift or 3, depending on how many items I needed to get that week. I think back then it was, it varied anywhere between 100 and 230 items I had to get in a week. And once I got up to that 200 number, it was very hard to find the stuff I needed in the thrift stores that I have that was desirable still to people. I could have gone in and bought 200 Target shirts, but they'd sit there and it would be a waste of my time to get them. And at that time, I was looking up every item for sell-through rate, for, average sales price. And that was a good way to build things initially. Now I have more of a gut feeling that's right about stuff. And so I'm able to shop faster. But recently I've gone to a mix of thrifting pretty infrequently and then buying liquidation. So I have gone to a lot more liquidation and pallets of things, which isn't as fun for me, but it is more, it just saves me a lot of time. So I still get my thrift fixes, maybe 3 or 4 days a month I'll go, and it's mostly for fun, but I still do it. I'll never give it up.
I go once a month and it's like, okay, I'll go.
I would have never guessed it, Star. You were so into it. I mean, you looked like you're having a ball, so you're a good actor.
Once you get me out there, I guess, if I'm finding stuff, but it was also a new place to me. Like the stuff that I find here, this is a blue collar town full of factories. I find Old Navy, I find Walmart plus size. I mean, that's what I sell. I built a volume-based business based on bread and butter.
Yep.
Because I could find it.
I have a lot of it too.
But once you get me out there, like here, even that once a month when I'm with my friends here,
yes,
it's like how I was at camp. Because it's more fun with people, I think.
I agree.
Especially like we all sell different things, the group I go with here. So I'm not competing. You're a good actor. I mean, I look like I'm having fun at events too, but then I come home and I'm freaking stressed out.
So exhausted for 6 months.
I have anxiety and anti-borderline disorder and don't want to leave the house for a year.
Oh, shoot. Well, you're a true introvert then.
I'm an ambivert.
Oh. Well, tell me about that. Is it kind of a little bit of each? I've heard the term, but I've not read into it.
I want to read you the exact. It's a person whose personality has a balance of extrovert and introvert features.
Oh.
Ambiverts are people who fall somewhere in the middle. And there are people who have qualities of both extremes. So they thrive both in solitude and company.
Oh, that might be me. Maybe I'm one too. The older I get,
and it is
the more introverted I become, the older I get. I feel like I used to be totally.
I'm definitely get off my lawn and old now and talk to me. But I feel like the older I get, the worse I get. But no, I'm one or the other. I'm an extreme. There's no middle ground for me. I either stay at home for a week and don't leave the house all week and just read books and play video games, or I'm going on 10 trips in a year and then like decompressing. You're
going to be exhausted for the next year after that.
Yes.
I loved camp listing party. It was so much fun. I'm planning on going to Posh Fest too this year. So
I'm not doing anything this year. Well, we actually had decided we really want to go to England. It's like on both of our bucket lists.
Yeah.
And Keith, who will never travel ever, wants to go to England. Okay. So we
So you
decided
need to strike while the iron's hot here.
instead of me going, and there's not even any events this year anyway, everybody canceled, but I said I wasn't going to go to any events this year. And the amount of money I would have spent on hotels and tickets and airfare, we're putting into this whole separate account that we opened.
Yeah.
And we're going to do England off of our bucket list probably in the next 2 years. But we've added, I don't even know how this happened. He's agreed now to go to New York City, y'all.
Oh my goodness. Is this
He
man
said to me,
okay?
he said, if you planned it out ahead of time and we went in the off season and we just hit the places like, that you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, he's like, and it's closer and more affordable than London. So we can probably do it first. And I'm like, because like every show I watch and every book I read and every movie I love is in New York. So there's all these things I need to see, but
yes.
Look, that's another tangent.
Well, good. That sounds exciting.
Yeah. So it'll probably be like, there's some stuff going on with his grandfather's health right now. So it might be a couple of years.
Yeah.
But
See how things play out.
yeah, that's another thing too. You got to put family first. So you can, if you do a bank.
I agree. Like if my kid's playing baseball, I'm not at work. I'm at the baseball game. Like if he's in a uniform somewhere, any of them doing something, I'm at that. I'm not doing this at that moment. But because, you can prepare ahead of time, that's the beauty of this business. There's a lot of good things. I think it's the best job in the world. And I say job, really it's a career, but it really is. People, when I try to explain what I do, they're like, what? Like that's profitable? And I just think, oh, aren't you cute? And I feel sorry for you because I love this and I'm living my best life over here.
Okay, so one thing I'm sorry, I really need to ask you this question because this came up at a listening party. And I made a note here. Make sure you get to this before you get off the show. Okay. You mentioned your pricing strategies on eBay, how you lower prices. Are you willing to tell us about that?
Yeah, how I lower them?
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely can. So pricing, first of all, in general, I price with a 20 to 30% inflation, let's say. Like I'll price them 30% above what I think they'll probably sell for. And I'm always running sales too. But when I go to mark things down, instead of like I'm doing physical inventory over the summer here, and instead of pulling things like I used to do that are over 18 months old, because I have the room to keep things around now, I will just do markdowns. So on the first of the month, every month, I'll do my tax stuff. And this is how I remember to do it. I do my tax stuff, pay my payroll taxes. I have, I think everybody has kind of a first of the month or last of the month checklist that they do running a business. So I do that and then I do my markdowns. So on eBay, it makes it really easy because you can edit in bulk of 2,000 listings at a time.
Yeah.
And so I'll go in and mark everything that's over 90 days old down 5% every month. So eventually those things that I maybe were bad buys that are less desirable now, blah, blah, the old things, they eventually get to a point where somebody will come along and scoop them up. And then like I'm getting a little bit of money back out of that thing. I don't have to go through inventory and pull things that are old. And it keeps velocity going in my store too. So even though it might not be a high profit item at that point, or I might even lose a little bit of money on that item, not very often. I think it's a strategy that's good for somebody with a business this size. It saves a lot of time having to pull old things to get rid of or donate and deal with all that paperwork that goes along with it. So I do that on Poshmark as well. I list all my stuff on Mercari, but they don't have bulk editing features. So I just price things on there and let it ride. But I offer free shipping on Mercari and I don't anywhere else. So
how do you do bulk pricing on Poshmark? The closet closeouts?
You can do closet clearouts, and that you have to mark things down by 10%.
Yeah.
I use some automation that gives you the option to mark down.
So you have like a...
Yeah. And that there's a feature where you can mark things down by a certain percentage.
Okay.
And you can say how old you want those listings to be. So nothing, newer than 90 days or
I
yada,
like
yada.
that. So, I mean, that's a lot more efficient than what we do.
Mhm.
And probably quicker. So I delist, relist 10 items a day, but it's not a priority. So if I don't have the time that day, it doesn't get done.
On all platforms or just?
Yeah. So, but I do it in list perfectly. So I sort by oldest touched. And right now the things that were the oldest touched were like September of last year. And I just do 10 every morning and I end them on all the platforms. And then on list perfectly, I go in and I switch something in the title. I switch the photos.
Yeah.
And then if they are from 2023, they just kind of go back in. If they're older, they go down like by 5 or 10% on the other Poshmark and Macari. But I have a store category in eBay called clearance, and I have that one set up for a sale for 50% off.
I have toyed with that idea. I don't have special categories set up. I just use the eBay categories, but
I did. And I inflate too. So if I want $20 for American Eagles, they're originally listed for I do shipping. So $12.49. So they go to $9.99 and then I have $9.99 in shipping. So it's $19. So when they go to half off, now they're $6.25 and they still got that $10 shipping, but they're from 2021. And by the way, that's normal for bread and butter. Don't come at me, y'all.
Things do stick around a while.
I have a clothing guide, a jeans guide, and a plush guide that we created. We created it as we were learning how to source, but we update it every year now, and we figure out the sell-through rates, and then we color code red, yellow, green, like a stoplight.
Oh, I love that. Do you sell
There
it?
is like 5 green. There's like 5 green brands anymore that are fast, right?
Yeah.
The majority, especially bread and butter, it takes 6 to 9 months for a piece of clothing to sell.
I found that jeans in particular, since I started 4+ years ago, there's less brands that sell well than used to. Like there's maybe 2 or 3 that I even pick up anymore.
Oh, I sell them all. I sell Walmart plus size. I don't care. $25 every
But
day.
it's a good lesson. I bought some like clothing in a bale. Okay. And it was like thrift store rejects, but it was so cheap. I just couldn't resist. So I bought this bale. You cut the twine and it explodes all over your space. But there were jeans in there I never would have touched in a thrift store, not in a million years, but they came to the door like you do. And they were all plus size. I picked plus size because I know that it's a factor that helps sell women's clothing. And I listed them because I had them anyway. I had bought them and I thought, well, let's let it fly and see what happens. I priced them all more reasonably than, I normally price things. But those things have been selling. It was a shock to me. And so it was also a lesson, like these things sell if you price them right.
Yeah. So I pick up on purpose when I go to the thrift store, if it's 99 cents day, if it's plus size, I say this in my videos, you guys have probably heard me say this, there could be a rack of 200 pairs of all Walmart, Target, and other poop brands. If they're size 16 or bigger and they're 99 cents, all 200 are coming home with me.
Yes.
And I list them for about, I'm trying to think of my math real quick because we only recently switched to charging shipping. So I'll put them in at $18.74 so that they go on sale for $14.99 and they have the $10 shipping and they will sell. And sometimes I take a best offer and they sell fast because, and this is a true fact that Keith found in an article. I'm not making stuff up. Something like 80% of Americans are obese.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe it.
I'm fluffy too, guys. I wear a plus size. So, and actually on Poshmark, 14 and up is considered plus.
If you look at my like BMI chart, I am, like there's a lot of people that are, and
it just is.
I'm not surprised. And that's why, and I think clothing brands don't make as many either plus size styles, numbers wise. And so they're just more sought after. It's just,
they're hard to find. And the same thing goes with the really small sizes too.
Yeah.
The size zeros, I can list Hollister for $20 and they'll sell within a week.
Interesting. That doesn't go for me, unfortunately.
The smaller sizes, Keith's sister's like a size -10.
Yeah.
She's really
10.
small. But she says it's really, really, really hard for her to find clothes. When you go to the mall and to the stores, they always have like size 4 to 12.
Yeah.
Right? So
Right.
anybody
No
who's
zeros,
really small or
no
big.
18s. Yeah, I mean, probably on either end of the spectrum,
Greg.
it's harder to find things.
Okay, so we talked about how you do your pricing, which you know, when we get to 10,000 listings, I may steal that from you instead of doing what I'm doing now.
It's really easy.
What I'm doing now is really working. Like the clearance stuff is selling, but sometimes it sells on the other platforms where I'm not putting it 50% off just because it got delisted, relisted, right? So, but we covered how you do your pricing, your sourcing, your employees, your listing, your pictures. Talk about your inventory management and your building. Tell us about that. But most especially your inventory management. It really makes me happy. That looks like my garage. That's what my garage looks like.
Does it? Yeah. It's gosh, it's my favorite part too. And if I get in a room full of resellers, whether it be in person or online, I could talk about it with people all day about
and I could look at pictures. Show me yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Show me yours.
Me too. There should be like a whole group for this. But so what I do is use numerical bins. So mine are not lettered, they're numbered 1 on up because that's indefinite. I can go from 1 to however big I want to grow. Okay. So I don't have to start over with the alphabet or anything of the sort. I do not individually number things within those bins, but they each get, they each get packaged in a clear bag like this, similar, an appropriately sized bag. And then with List Perfectly that I use, there's the capability to print off a QR code for each listing that you have in your catalog. So you can click that listing. I can print off a QR code on a little label, and the name of the item and the QR code go on the front of this bag, and the bag gets sealed up. So they go into the bins. I know that there's room in bins because I have just little note cards I tape on the end if there's room in that bin. It's super simple. It's not complicated, and it works really well for a big inventory, I feel. When something sells, when I'm doing my shipping in the morning, I will just take my phone, scan the QR code, and it will tell me, it'll pop that listing up in my List Perfectly catalog and tell me whether that item is marked sold and whether it's delisted from the platforms. I have auto delist happening, which is a game changer, but on occasion that doesn't happen for a number of reasons. Like if you have an active listing, if it sells on eBay, there's an active offer out to someone on Posh Market. It won't delist it.
Your computer has to be on. So like, sorry to interrupt you, but this is what happens to me all the time because it's been raining nonstop for 2 months. Our internet will go out overnight, and when I wake up in the morning, my laptop's no longer connected. So the 10 sales I made overnight didn't end. Right. But you can go into your List Perfectly and push your detector off and back on again, and it'll grab.
It'll grab them all. So that is an important thing to remember if you're using it to keep your computer on. But those QR codes have been just so awesome because I can not only, without opening that bag, I can not only see what's in it without opening the bag, I can see, by scanning that QR code, what the inventory situation looks like. And so I do that before I ship something. I scan that code every time, just really quick look and make sure that it's marked properly as it's going out the door. And that I have the right thing. I don't ship people the wrong thing anymore either because I can look at it, look at the listing on my computer, look at the sale on the platform and make sure it's the same thing.
When you do your pick list, do you go one by one?
Like when I take them from the bins?
Yeah, like how do you?
So I have, hold on. I have these shopping carts right here. And I wheel those around the warehouse, and I have a tall ladder that I can get up to the top. I'm really short. So I have one of those ladders that they have in stores on wheels, and you can climb up to the top of these shelves and get the things out of the top. ones. So I print a pick list off of List Perfectly. So I have a piece of paper. I have a little thermal printer here that prints 8x10 pieces of paper. So I just pull that pick list every morning when I come in, and it has the SKU numbers next to each item. And I can just go down the row with my shopping cart and dig them out and toss them in. And then I can wheel them over to my shipping station, which is where I'm sitting right now. And
I don't reckon I know how to print a pick list off of.
Oh gosh, it's right in the sales and analytics tab.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I made this years ago.
Yeah, I used to do a spreadsheet,
and I print this every morning, and I write them. We do these.
Yes, with the numbers.
This is an A5, and it's slot 14. When it's sold, I put it in here. So when I'm taking pictures, I know that these are all fake. So I'm not infinitely creating more bins because I'm out of space. When I've clearly just sold all of these the last couple of weeks, I have all these tags in here to use to fill them back up.
Right.
So as we take stuff out, we're putting it back. We're very antiquated. These are scratch papers, mail.
But it works for you.
Envelopes. I'm recycling.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm cutting up all of our old scratch papers. You can see the backs. We just recycle paper.
I do that too. I cut paper up and use it.
Yeah. And so we just pull these off, and we know we've been selling a lot of jeans. And then I give him this every morning. He usually goes by himself and does it because of my back. Unless there's a lot of plush, and then I have to go help.
But it's a system somebody else can do. Too, which is nice. And I think that's important.
So your shelves, are they the plastic ones that you slide the poles in and snap together?
And they're pretty inexpensive. You look at wire rolling racks and stuff, and they're thousands of dollars sometimes for a couple of them. You pay $1,500 for 2 racks. These ones I pay maybe $60 per, and you just pound them together with a rubber mallet, and super easy. If I could find a million of these clear ones back here, these clear totes, I would use those on everything. They're called Clever Made, and they collapse down flat, but they're also perfectly square, flat-sided, and so you don't lose that space where a tote kind of tapers down to the bottom. These ones are square. They fit perfect in there, and they just stopped selling them around where I'm at, and to buy them online is too expensive. So
we use these ones from Walmart. I don't know if I can.
What's that?
I'm going to actually show you an empty one because look at my pajama pants. Just these ones.
Yeah. That's kind of what I got.
Plush audit. So my plushes are numbers.
Yeah.
And they just kind of go in there.
And that's what my bins look like, is just a plain number on the end.
But the clothing, we do 2 rows of 15.
Okay.
We call them first class still, but smaller items. And then our jeans that are padded flats, we don't even use those anymore. We do 10 and 10. And
don't you love Ground Advantage? I love it.
Oh my gosh. So I just recently switched my business policies to reflect that. So my flat rate on a lot of my jeans is no longer $9.99. It's $7.99. And they can pick $9.99 if they want the faster rate.
Right.
If they want it faster. So I switched to that about 2 weeks ago, and our jean sales are
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it gives you a little bit more leeway, I guess, with shipping. Hey, Jill. She uses her pick list, she says.
I shouldn't say I don't know how. I know how. Someone showed me, and I'm 80 years old and mean, and I want people to get off my lawn. And I said, I know what I'm doing. I got my dinosaur list.
You would love the pick list, I think. It prints them in order.
I hate change. You know what I mean?
But you know what else? It prints out a picture of what it is, and the description and the SKU all in a row.
That's a lot. But
it's fine. You just print it for to a
page.
These
are in the order of our shelves too.
Yeah.
So he can
that's the thing. You just use what works for you, and don't reinvent the wheel if it's
Yeah. And we might change. That's what I'm trying to say. I had a brain fart. I guess my mouth didn't even want to say that word. But no, I mean, we're changing all the time. And adapting is the word I should use.
Right.
Grandparents are calling. We're adapting all the time. And you have to. 2-4 hits. And you find that you're spending 3 hours every morning shipping, now you're not even growing, you're not even maintaining because you can't list enough to keep up. You might, and we do, the month leading up to Q4 and all through Q4, we usually work 6 days a week.
Yeah.
The rest of the year we like our 2 days off.
Otherwise Monday would be such a monster, you'd hardly get through it if you didn't do Saturday sometimes.
We don't ship on Saturday.
Yeah.
Mondays are hard.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes if it's a lot, like we keep an eye on it too. We go to his grandparents for dinner every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
When we get home, we'll go pull it and get what's done ready, and then you just have to adapt. Like we recently were taking Sunday, Monday off. We would do our shipping Monday and take the rest of the day off so we could work Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
But then we realized we weren't really getting a whole day off. So now we switched back to Saturday, Sunday off.
Yeah.
But as we go into growth mode, we're liar faces anyway because we're working Saturdays.
We all do it. I think like I like to try to take my weekends off too. And having this separate space has really made a difference with that. But I'm still on there, on the computer doing little things here and there. Anyway, we are liar faces.
We're liar faces. But when you get into growth mode, you hit Friday afternoon and you're like, okay, so I need 240 pictures for next week.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to list out 2 weeks, we do 20 a day. So we need 120 minimal, right?
Yeah.
But I want to list more. So now I need more pictures. So now I need to take, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing. If I work on Saturdays, I make it fun, like, because it's supposed to be my day off. So I put on a horror movie. I sit in front of the TV up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's over there.
Oh, yeah. You got it all set.
It's a little Roku, and I have a little portable table I can pull out in front of it and wheel my chair. And I break, and we eat pizza for lunch every Saturday. It's, you just got to make it fun. I work on a reward system.
Me too.
I have to tell myself, if I get this task done, then I can have a little break, read a chapter of my book, have an apple or a snack. I'm into apples right now.
I like apples with a little peanut butter.
I was just about to say, so I'm really into apples right now because they have them on sale, this big bag at Walmart. So I've been having to eat them every day, but I started eating them with peanut butter because I don't want them to go bad. And oh my gosh, I eat like 2 a day.
You do sound like you're 80. I don't want them to go bad.
I don't want my apples to go bad. We want to go grocery shopping once every 2 weeks too.
Well, hey.
To assist our hermitness.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, anyway, my point is you have to learn how to adapt.
Yeah, I'm changing all the time. I mean, I just set up another computer workstation this week across the way because I was finding that there was a bottleneck happening where my employee was over here working in my workstation because we got some liquidation in that don't need as many pictures taken. So she had my spot and I was like, but I could be getting so much more done if we had a second workstation. So that the flow of that changed a little bit. I mean, you do all the time. These QR codes that I put on the inventory stuff, they haven't always been there, but to be willing to try new things and willing to change or adapt.
I took all the pictures. He does all the listing. It used to be he did all the pictures. I did all the listing. Yeah. But then he got, to the point where he's like, if I have to take one more picture of Plush or jeans or the stuff you like, because he does his own stuff too. He does all the comics from start to finish. He takes the pictures of them. We have an Amazon with the electronics, and I don't touch that.
And does he love all that stuff? Like, is that his passion? Are those things?
Yeah, he does video games, electronics.
And that makes it easier.
And he handles the Amazon. We have a secret eBay store that's not public. Mm-hmm. I originally created it on the advice of other YouTubers, just in case you piss someone off and they sabotage your eBay store. You have this other one to fall back on.
Yep.
But you can also put things on there that you don't want people to see that you're selling or to give away. Mm-hmm. So he does all of our stuff on the secret eBay. And Amazon, you have to keep a secret because it's really easy.
That's a whole different beast. I don't do.
Yeah. So he does that. He has all his own stuff that he does. Mm-hmm. And he always has, because I told him, if you want to do, it's kind of like the jewelry. If you want to do Amazon, I'm not touching it with an info pole. And, if he's got one of the jewelry, he's not touching it.
Right.
But he used to take all the pictures and I did the listing. But when we used to do more thrifting, he had more stuff for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're ordering, you know what's easiest to order wholesale for us? Jeans, jewelry, Plush.
Yeah. So you do what you can get sometimes. I'm in a similar, like you say, you're in a working class town, and the stuff you find around there is not necessarily like super desirable to a lot of people. I have the same thing going on here. I mean, my state I love, and one of the reasons I love it is it's sparsely populated.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes with, and we have a lot of farmers. We have a lot of money around here, but they just don't dress like it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of Carhartt, and that was good a while back. Carhartt was great. So I was sitting here in a gold mine, but just a lot of sporting outdoorsy type stuff. And a lot of it is worn to death. So what shows up in the thrift store, you know, we have Target and Walmart and a couple of malls and not a lot of designer stuff. So
yeah. In fact, I can sit here and honestly tell people the best brands I've ever sold came to me in bulk buys. Never me finding them in the wild. I did find one pair of Coogie jeans. I've never found a sweater, but like 6 years ago when the jeans still sold for like $80.
Yeah.
I found a pair. But most of the stuff that and even the plush, like I've had some $300-$400 plush. I've had some $80 plush. They're always from bulk buys because they're coming to me from other states.
Yeah. Yep. I loved thrifting in Arizona when we were there. I mean, I found so much good stuff. And then my FedEx boxes got lost on the way.
Oh,
it was like a whole that? Good grief.
Well, when I got home, I got the Lyme disease and I was in the hospital.
Oh, gee whiz.
So 2 weeks later, I come home from the hospital, I can have my boxes, and you guys were all talking about how they lost the boxes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember what I told you.
Yes,
I do. To find out.
Yeah.
I told her, F around and find out. So I called the hotel and I said, hey, so there's, we're going to call the police and make them look at your cameras and have somebody arrested because somebody stole our stuff. And wouldn't you know,
they showed up.
Boxes turned up the next like couple of days.
Yeah.
Because I threatened to call the police.
And she's like,
I can't believe you did that. I'm like, I can't believe y'all didn't think of that in the last 2 weeks to threaten the police.
I don't know. We were just
if UPS says they picked it up.
Yes. Yeah, it was UPS. It wasn't FedEx. They said they picked it up. I paid for the pickup and they marked it complete. And that was the only thing I think that the only documentation there was. And then they just were lost for a month.
Until you threatened the police.
Until you worked your magic.
So anyway, but that was fun because we got back to the hotel from thrifting, and that was great. We had this whole system set up in the lobby.
Yeah, I brought my Rolo. Dawn brought boxes.
There was tape guns.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It was.
They lost our stuff.
We got it eventually.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about your business that I didn't ask? That you feel is like important?
I don't think so. I'm just so thankful for it. I'm grateful for this life, this industry, and the best thing has been meeting other people that do the same thing. So people like you, people on listing party, people at events that I go to. It's just like it's a special group, and I think I don't know. It's great. I'm grateful to be part of it. And nothing really else about my business, but I'm open to answering questions anytime if people want to ask. I am kind of an open book because everything I learned is from, others on
other people. Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, you're always learning. And even if people do things completely different than you, the whole changing my shipping policies on my jeans was an idea that came out of List Perfectly parties.
Yeah.
Me delving into jewelry to begin with was an idea that came out of a crafting party. So speaking of, I have a couple more questions for Crystal. And this is the asterisk, you have to not be a current List Perfectly user. But if you're in the chat and you want to try List Perfectly free for 1 month and you're not currently a user, holy crap, did I set up I didn't set up my giveaway tool. Oh, star. So I'm going to put I'm going to put hashtag list perfectly. We'll do list perfectly. Type that in the chat and I'll show it to you just because I don't always speak. I'm a mumbler, as Keith says. Type this into the chat, but you have to not be a current user and you'll get 1 month free. It is the pro. So you'll have Poshmark sharing and the auto delister.
You will have all the bells and whistles. And yes, that top level is where it's at.
So I've always said for 10 million years, I would never pay somebody to share my closet. That's just so See, I do feel like an old person, right? Yeah. Why would I? I don't thrift. I don't leave the house. I'm in my office 8-9 hours a day. It's in another tab, and I can just keep doing the bulk thing over and over. And that made sense to me. If I'm sitting here all day. Now, if I had other activities and things that I couldn't, I probably would have paid a bot. But I'm here, so I could just keep it going. But now that I have something doing it for me.
Yes, they just keep adding things in. It's so cool.
I can't go back because now I don't have to worry about the bulk on anything. It's just sharing 24 hours a day around the clock. My Posh sales have gotten better. And I know that you're not on social media, but on Instagram right now, there's a lot of concern with a lot of Posh sellers that their sales are very slow and have almost like just become non-existent. Mine are still okay and they're doing well. And it might be because I'm being shared 24 hours a day. And Makari's doing well too.
Yeah, me too. I've been pleased with it over the past month and a half or so.
Yeah, I'm really pleased. And actually, as I'm all the new items that we're cross-posting and delisting, relisting, we're actually going back to free shipping on Makari because it's one less thing for them to see at checkout with all those fees.
Exactly. Yeah, and when we're not paying the seller fees anymore, you can afford more to offer that. I feel like, or I can.
Yeah, for sure. I'm taking offers of like I never would have entertained before. I don't care. I get to keep the whole $5, whatever. Take it.
Yep.
I withdraw my money once a month, so I pay $2 one time a month for everything we sell on the card. Comic books do really well there. If you guys,
I bet they do. That would be. I think it seems very Mercari-ish.
But our jeans, but see, I think it's a volume game too. We have so many jeans listed that of course we're going to be shipping out.
Yeah. How many hooks do you have in the water, you know?
Yeah. So I know there was more I wanted to ask you. I should have taken more notes, but
that's okay.
So your sales that you run on eBay. Yeah. I did make a note. We talked about how once a month, if it's 90 days or older, you lower it. So they'll just keep going down, and then each
to a floor price.
3 months. Yeah. But your sales that you run, how often and at what %?
So this is something that I learned in Mastermind on Listing Party. Trish is the person who did this, and I think still does it, is really a continuous markdown sale on eBay. So they alternate between 20 to 25, sometimes 30%, 3-day sales all month long. So I set them up. Yeah. I set them up the first of the month. That's part of my first of the month checklist of things that I do, along with the markdowns, is set up those sales for the coming month. And then I think, the theory is that people can see that red countdown timer at 3 days. And that's
urgency.
Yeah. And so I do see, the sales they kind of go down the first day and then they spike towards the end. And then it's kind of that cycle with the sales, but I have one going all the time. So that's exactly
what we do.
Yep.
I set them up every Friday. It's my Friday routine. But they start and stop the same nights, the same times every week, between 20 and 30%. If there's a holiday, we'll go 30 if it's a weekend. But there's like 1/2 hour every couple of days in between where there's not a sale.
Exactly.
And you can set them up to grab your new items, people, huh?
And it's usually in the middle of the night, that half an hour. For me anyway. It's
mine's in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And you can set them up so they grab your new listings. So you don't have to worry about those. What I like though, because I do like you and I list things 25% higher, when they sell before the sale grabs them,
Yeah, that's awesome. Or when somebody sends you an offer on, because I have best offer on everything. If somebody sends me an offer before the sale kicks in, and I'm like, yes, I will take that.
Yeah,
Because it's
hey,
a way
let's do
of
more.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
usually, I mean, I run that sale, and then most of the sales I make are on best offer anyway, or an offer that I send in addition to that 20% off,
I would say probably 90% of my sales are offers.
Yes, but that's why I feel anyway, and it isn't niche specific, category specific, but in mine and probably yours, your categories, giving people the opportunity to send those offers, give them the perception of getting a deal, or they are getting a really good deal on something, is so valuable. I mean, people like that. They
It's
want,
psychology.
yeah, they want to feel like they got a deal on something, and I'm
They
willing
want to
to
feel
give
like they
them
got a deal. They got the last word. They got one over on you, however you want to put it.
Yep.
And allegedly, you get a boost in the search algorithm if you have sales running and you have best offers on.
Yeah.
And here's a tip. If you have 2 shipping options, you allegedly get a boost in the shipping or in the algorithm. So you can set up your business policies like on my jeans. It's $7.99 for ground, but there's a secondary option of $9.99 for priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I just set my business policies like that. So there's 2 options.
Yeah, and they can choose.
They can choose, but allegedly it gives you, I don't know. You hear all these things. Who knows how she really works? Because
It is hard to know.
But I am a firm believer. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
If it is broke, figure out how to fix it. But if it's working,
yeah. I've been like lately in the practice of accepting more offers, like saying yes to more offers I may not have before. I always am looking at my 90-day total on eBay. That's kind of like a marker for me of, how are things going? You open your app, you open your computer, your seller hub, and it's right there. Mm-hmm. And I thought, like, about a month ago, I'm like, I'm going to say yes to more that aren't totally ridiculous offers. Instead of countering, I'm just going to accept them and move on and just move things out. Whether they're new, whether they're older items, I'm just going to try it. And what do you know? My 90-day total is way up from where it was a month ago. And yeah, it's been an interesting experiment, and it's not an experiment anymore. It's the new way I do things.
If it's like within $5, I would have offered them.
Yeah, it's like, you know what?
That's like I think my rule. Mm-hmm. So if it's a $25 pair of jeans, and I would have offered, $22.49 or $20, and they offer me like $17.
Yep.
But I know they're still paying $10 shipping, that I'm still going to make $4 on.
Yeah. I mean, it's $20 you wouldn't have had before, or $17 after fees or whatever.
And I only pay like 99 cents for the stuff I thrift, and the stuff I get bulk. It's usually $1 or less per item. My jewelry and my remote controls and his electronics come out to like 8 cents a piece.
And you're not paying anybody to write the listings or photograph them. You're doing it all yourself. So you can like go, you have a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, for sure. There comes a point where you have to tell yourself, do I want the $15 now, or do I want the $20 in 6 months? And I want the $15 now.
Totally. Especially if you only spent $1 on it. Yeah. Like sell it and move on to the next thing. We're in the business of selling things, not storing things. And I hear people say it all the time.
Well, no, I'm in the business of storing things. You can't be a volume-based seller and not say.
Well, I mean, who are we kidding? Look at my
when people say that, they usually are the people who wouldn't sell what I sell, wouldn't do volume, wouldn't have Plush. So
I tell myself that when I'm considering an offer, though, I'm like, I'm here to make money. I'm here to sell things, not order my bins.
I don't like that expression, though, because it's usually told to me by really smug people.
Oh, gosh, no.
I would never do volume. Well, you know what? I have a whole garage, and I'm going to fill it up, and I'm going to build my listings. But I hate that expression. I really do.
And I said it on your show. Are you going to kick me off?
Plush is so long tail. You're like waiting 3 years, right?
I have a few, and I'm not a gifted Plush person. I have known nothing about it. But gosh, do they sit a long time?
Yep.
They really do.
And also, I'm against the race to the bottom. So if you guys hear me saying, take the money now and run, list things at what they're worth, run sales, take offers, but
Mhm.
don't
List
come
a
in
little
here
about what
and
you-
put your silver jeans at $15. No, put them at 40 and then offer 15.
Oh,
That race
yep.
to the bottom really ticks me off too.
I know that about you.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
I think Trish says it sometimes. She's like, well, Star would say, don't be racing to the bottom.
Don't be one of these.
Oh
Don't be a turd.
Uh,
But no, that whole I'm in the business of storing and not or selling and not
Selling
storing.
and not storing.
The only other than you, the only time it's ever been said to me or like physically to my face or in typing in a group or whatever
Yeah.
is usually someone who has 200 listings and they're selling high-end electronics and
Gee whiz. Well, of course people want to buy that. Of course you're in the business of selling things.
or they're one of those guys who make $1 million an hour on Amazon.
Yeah. That's not me at all.
No, they're always like, you're selling crap. And I'm like, but you know what?
But it's selling.
My Walmart jeans pay my bills.
Yep.
And again, your bills aren't my bills. I don't have bills. We actually are debt free. Thank you, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
We are debt free. We are very minimalistic people. And I'm Scrooge McDuck. I just want to store my money and swim in it. So,
Maybe put it in a sock under the mattress.
I want to just swim in it. No, we have savings accounts. And we followed Dave Ramsey and built the whole emergency fund and all of
He's
that.
got a lot of good advice. Yeah.
He does. But I don't have employees to pay. I don't have a lot of bills. I don't have any debt. I read books. It's my biggest thing is reading books, and I do Kindle Unlimited. So it's not like I'm spending $100 a month on books.
Right.
So, it works for me. And I like doing jeans. I just do. I could sit here with 500 pairs of jeans and a box of jewelry all week in plushies, I guess. But you guys take up a lot of room.
They do.
I haven't bought any
concealer things.
I haven't bought any plush in like a year because I'm doing my audit, which is taking forever because I only do like one bin a week on my audit. It's not a priority, but it's
not my favorite thing to do.
I'm kind of like trying to do the audit just to find where there's space to combine 2 bins or whatever, and minimize the amount of plush I have. But I'm really liking jewelry too. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun to dive into something new sometimes, especially when it's adjacent to what you already do, which jewelry is.
Yes. I like things in volume. I think that's just me. Like if I can get a box that something's delivered to my front door.
Star is a maximalist, is what we've learned with her inventory.
But for life, I'm a minimalist. I like declutter a room every day, like every week. I do the Fly Lady system.
Yeah. I know her too. Gosh, we must have watched all the same things.
Yeah. I'm constantly eyeballing everything in my office. Do I still want this? Should I resell this? Do I really need this hamster on my desk?
Nailed down. You can sell it.
Look, she's wearing a dress.
She's cute.
All right. So what do you do in your free time? That'll be my last question for you.
I am right now a mom of 2 kids. I am, running around to their stuff, keeping them in line, nagging. I'm a nag. That's what I do in my free time. That's pretty much it. A sports mom and a nag.
Sports mom and a nag.
Have you done your homework? Have you all the stuff? But really, that's it. I used to, in my spare time, sew a lot. I quilted, I sewed, I did all that when my kids had gone to school and I had free time. But now this kind of takes up my life. And then on the weekends, I relax or do yard work. I like to garden a little bit. I planted some flowers outside my shop in some pots yesterday on my break. So yeah, I like my flowers. That's probably the big thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words of wisdom for everybody?
Be consistent and have self-discipline. Those are the 2 things that I would say is just to have the platforms love consistency. If you can just full steam ahead, make a plan and go with it, find a way to build that bank up and command yourself, have discipline every day. That's the unfun part, but
yeah, routines help with that. That's what I teach is
Yep.
Routines. You can build a habit in 30 days. And once it's built, you do it on autopilot, whether you want to or not. So
That's right.
Force yourself to do something for 30 days and then you'll do it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Just do routines. Write it down. Yeah. Make yourself do it. Tell people too, so you're accountable, which is where List Perfectly comes in good too.
Oh yeah. If it weren't for Mastermind, I wouldn't be doing some of the stuff I'm doing because I said it out loud to 30 people. So
you got to tell people. Be accountable.
And now I'm saying it to the internet on YouTube.
Yeah, this is her summer of pushing to 10 grand.
Yeah.
And by September, I should be at 6 to 7. So
okay, we've said it. It is in the universe now. So
yeah,
we got to do it.
All right. Well, you guys know I say this every week, but it's super important for me to say because I cannot hammer this in enough. I say it every week. That balance between work and life is so important. Yes. So make sure that you are working enough to do what you need to do, but take time off for yourself, your friends, your pets, who are the most important, and your loved ones. And over the weekend, if you work over the weekends, take a little bit of time. I stress this. Watch a movie or an episode of a show. Read a chapter. Go for a walk. Just go outside and breathe the air. But make sure that you're taking breaks and taking care of your mental health, because if all you do is work, you are going to burn out. You're not be good for anybody.
Well, it was a pleasure, Star. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Nice of you to ask.
I will probably ask you back later this year or next year.
Well, sounds good. After your hiatus.
After my hiatus. So those of you that are constant viewers and didn't hear the news this week, I will be not doing a live show until September, Friday the 13th. I'll be having Robert back. And I'm going to be cutting back to like 1 or 2 videos a week this summer. So I can have 6,000 active listings by September 13th.
Yep.
I'll be accountable. All right, folks, go have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you guys spending this much time with us. If you're watching the replay, thank you too. Crystal, thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
And do me a favor, guys. Everybody kiss your pets and tell them I love them, even if I've never met them. I love animals. Bye, guys.
Bye.